we now also have John Boehner, the Republican Speaker of the House. I hope you're sitting down for this BS because it's just getting ridiculous, Lewis. John Boehner now says we need congressional hearings. I can barely even get through this. I mean, it's just so ridiculous. We need congressional hearings to figure out what happened with the release of Sergeant Bowe Bergdahl. We already determined that the George W. Bush administration released far more Gitmo detainees that were potentially involved in militant activity than Barack Obama. We already determined that the Obama administration years ago started talking about the trade for Bowe Bergdahl with Republicans, yet it still might be too late from this devolving into a Benghazi-like pseudo-scandal. John Boehner saying congressional hearings on the decision to swap Sergeant Bowe Bergdahl for 3 Gitmo detainees may be necessary. Boehner saying specifically, it's important that we get clarity in the days and weeks ahead. We need clarity. Yeah. Under U.S. law, the president is required to give 30 days notice and fulfill some other disclosure conditions before you can release prisoners from Gitmo. However, number one, this was discussed years ago with Republicans. Number two, when that law went into effect, President Obama already said security specifics in these types of situations may prevent me from actually honoring that. And it's just yet another attempt at a pseudo scandal like Benghazi for Republicans. Let's take a step back for a second and look at the Obama scandals that were just poised to bring down his presidency. The birth certificate and President Obama's eligibility failed to produce anything. Fast and Furious failed to turn into the scandal we heard it would. The IRS scandal, where conservative groups were supposedly being scrutinized for being conservative for their nonprofit status, crashed and burned when it was determined that actually only a liberal group lost their nonprofit status. The fighting of the Affordable Care Act through media vilification, through calling it illegal, through appealing it all the way up to the Supreme Court, that failed. The turning of Benghazi into a scandal, well, they're still trying, Lewis, but it is getting close to a failure. Increasingly, people just don't think it was a scandal. And now it is hearings over the Bowe Bergdahl release. Does anyone remember that George W. Bush went to war with a country that did nothing to us, based on knowingly trying to falsely link that country's actions to 9/11 and Al-Qaeda, and putting together a knowingly flimsy case about weapons of mass destruction? No Republicans calling for hearings then, but now we need hearings over the IRS. We need hearings over Fast and Furious. Benghazi, there were 13 Benghazis under George W. Bush, and now Bowe Bergdahl. It is just the height of absurdity from this obstructionist Republican House.
That's it. That's the part I was going to mention. This is just more obstructionism. It is a complete waste of time. If these hearings actually happen, it's going to be a complete waste of money. And there will be a lot of time, money, and effort put into this. And I think even the vast majority of people involved know that it will go absolutely nowhere.